Two by two.
two,
Hands
hands
of
of blue.
blue.
Two
Two
by
by
two,
two.
hands
Hands
of
of
blue.
blue.
Two by
Two
two.
by two.
You know, it's
Hands of
really hard to get that right over this distance. I mean, we're trying to line this up on opposite sides of the freaking planet. Doesn't
I am sort of Power Rangers, a symbol. I should be both of that.
Klaatu, Varata, Nectar.
Hey, I might do the episode just like this.
Well, it's a good thing
Oh,
we had Captain Chaos with us this time. Third time's a
awesome.
charm.
Yeah, this is going to be a party because we finally got him. Until he drops.
Hey, it's because of the hands of blue. So,
Also, if you drop them, we know that the guys with the blue hands caught you. Is that
yeah,
what it is?
they came to this place two by two.
Oh man, this is awesome. I can't believe why we waited so long to talk about this. This is one of my favorite shows.
We waited this long, so it was the 20th anniversary. Come on. That's how it works.
Oh yeah, there you go. There you go. So if you guys are a little confused and you're thinking, hold on a second, it's not Saturday. There's a new science fiction remnant episode out. It's because this is a bonus episode where it's kind of our way to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Firefly. And what better than to talk about the first episode? Yeah, I mark it as
Are you sure about that?
I marked it as episode 2. Yes, because if you buy Firefly, this will technically be the second episode. But the reason why we're picking it is because this was aired first. It was September 20th, 2002.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so good. I'm sure. I mean, we don't have any newbies here. Everybody here has seen this show. I remember when I finished all 14 episodes. Um, I had so much hunger of this thing
For
that I
more.
was looking for content everywhere, and I was listening to a podcast. I believe that podcast is still alive now. It's called The Signal, just so I can get my fixed.
So
And then
would you have signal?
it's called The Signal. It- so it comes with the when they came out with the movie Serenity,
Yeah.
but this whole show is just it's just so amazing. Um, Out of curiosity, I want to see um from Ray or Geo, the first time you saw this. You hear me talk about my experience. What was your experience when you watched this for the first time?
I want to hear Ray first because mine already have it like
Okay,
preconceived.
fair enough. Well, I've been quite the fan of Buffy and Angel back in the late
Oh,
'90s, and
there
I
you
used to watch
go.
that. I used to watch that religiously every week, and I really liked the what would you call it? The sort of speech patterns that Joss Whedon liked to write into his shows. They were sort of poppy and different and interesting and not something you'd hear, at least in Australia, in everyday life. I don't know if these sorts of things sort of spread out in the US at the time. You'd have to fill me in on that. But certainly in Australia, it was new and different and fresh and poppy. And so when I found out that Joss Whedon was doing a sci-fi western, I was like, oh, give me some of that, because obviously, the try pointing that way. The name of the show. um, Obviously, I'm into sci-fi, but I grew up on a forced diet of westerns because my father was into westerns. So having those two things that I was very conscious of combined with Joss Whedon dialogue was like, oh, this is going to be good. And then, of course, the first episode, jump right in and you're like, what the hell's going on here? I can't follow. oh, doesn't seem like this is a pilot, really. And obviously it was because Fox screwed the pooch and released them in some sort of bizarre random order for whatever reason, probably because they were trying to cause the viewership to drop so that they could get rid of it, because one of the execs really hated it. But other than that, once I got my head around what the show was, which pretty much took until I bought the DVD box set and watched it in the right order. But once I'd done that, it was great. But yeah, I liked it anyway, because oftentimes I just compartmentalize and go, okay, well, I don't know where we are in the story, but I'm just going to watch this for what it is. And, train heists are a staple of Westerns. So seeing a sci-fi train heist was great. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking, but there isn't anything that I can recall at the moment as far as TV shows goes that can show a sci-fi and specialize on the Western part of it and show you that type of cowboy type. So I find it even hard to explain, because this is unique, and I think that's what makes this show what it is. I mean, take for example, Cowboy Bebop is another thing that I love, but it's you know, although Cowboy Bebop is as good as it is, you know, Firefly is more of a Western. Do you agree?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's that whole living on the edge, lawlessness, live by your gun and your wits, one step away from floating through space or being lost, which is equivalent to being lost in the desert, kind of deal for the Wild West.
Oh, definitely that.
What's better than having cows inside a ship with 6-shooters?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, it's very, very Western all around. Like, they made sure they capture Western, even though this is happening in space in a very far, far future. Like,
before we move on, I know we're getting ready to skip Geo, because as you all know, we have no rails.
they come and skip it.
We need no rails. So let's move on. Before we move on, let's get Geo's thought on the initial question that we asked. What was your experience the first time you watched
I
this?
never said something rude in the show to you, but you fucked it up for me, man. Because I mean, we were talking about Cowboy Bebop, and then you just told me, wait, you put this, and then you told me this was before Cowboy Bebop, but I think it was not.
No, this is 2002.
Yeah,
So
but yeah,
so
I loved it. I loved it, and I mean, I love the dynamic between the characters. It's pretty much, yeah, Cowboy Bebop, but
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
another universe, another crew,
Of the solar system.
and I
yeah.
mean, why would I complain, man? It has Morena Bacari. Oh,
Oh yes. For all of you who don't know, that's Geo's kryptonite.
Kryptonite, bro? No, trust me. I would do the opposite of Kryptonite.
Ray, do we have the blurb for this episode? The
Oh yeah,
train job.
for sure. Well, I have the synopsis of the show, which I'll quickly go through, and then the synopsis of the episode, because the synopsis of the episode is a short paragraph. It's like there's nothing to it, but having a context to place that in, which is basically what we didn't have when this episode first aired, sort of gives you much more of a feeling for the show. Now, I'm really hoping that nobody's listening to this before going and watching this show, because this show really deserves to have a solid watch in the right order. And I'm sure that everybody agrees that it was a travesty the way it was treated. There's a joke in now, what's the name of the show? It won't come to me. Come on, Sheldon Cooper. Sheldon Cooper from what's the name of the show? Help me here. Help me.
I'm lost.
I am more lost. Sean doesn't ring a bell to me. Shoot to Robert. We might take your sci-fi car away.
It's probably going to be
Big,
something
big,
very obvious.
Big Bang Theory.
Oh, you see, I
Yes.
told you
Yeah,
it's going to be
something
something
real.
obvious.
Sheldon Cooper, when they do this flashback episode where they're talking about the first time they met when the boys were moving in together. Sheldon actually had the apartment, and the other guy whose name escapes me as well.
Sheldon? Sheldon.
No, Sheldon's the one I'm talking about. But Sheldon Cooper says to
his best
flatmate,
friend, Leonard. Is it Leonard?
That's it. Yeah, Leonard. He says to Leonard, and of course Thursday nights are dedicated to Firefly, because we all know that show is going to be like having 10 or 20 seasons. So that's what Thursday nights are. And Leonard's like, yeah, okay, that's fine. And didn't even get through a full season. It's like, bye.
Yeah.
So that's their big joke.
How do you feel about, getting a reboot or a remake?
I think it will be badass.
Well, the question is what? What would you rather have?
It's 20 years. It's been too long. The characters just aren't going to be the same. It's going to be like the geriatric club.
I mean,
it's not going to work.
But I don't think that even she made it this far that good.
I mean, the only one who can do that 20 years later is Jerry Ryan. But I don't know. Well, there's too many other people who can swing that.
Here's why I'm asking that question, because I have a hard time, because I do want more of this. I am so gung-ho in getting more of this.
Gung-ho.
However,
are you about it?
The formula, the formula that made this what it is, it also includes the chemistry, of the actors, especially Captain, Mal Reynolds. What are the chances that we're going to hit the lottery again and find a crew that had the chemistry?
Well, the chemistry was so special with the actors and the parts that they were playing that I think you'd be really hard pressed to do it again. I would compare it to Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
In that I had a lot of trouble with the reboot until I, come to terms with the fact that it was different, but it was good different. But I don't know if you could swing good different with this.
Well, Ray, you bring a good point in there, because we got lucky with Galactica.
Yeah, we did.
I was with you when I started watching it. I had issues, and then I was like, "Oh my God, this is awesome! This is freaking awesome!" I mean, I still love the old one. Don't get me wrong. But you always have that fear that the reboot is going to mess it up, right?
Yes.
And to me, I feel like it's going to be like what was for me to watch Caprica. Like, Caprica was amazing. I loved it. So I would think that a remake.
Caprica was like a spin-off. It didn't cover the same ground that the original show covered.
No, it actually covers like the Genesis.
Rise of the Silence. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what made Caprica great is the fact that it's giving you a window into what fans of Galactica wondered and never got.
Yeah.
Which is the main capital, the main planet.
It's a new peek into the universe. And I mean, it's more of it at the same time. It's new stuff too. But it seems what Robert tells me that stays canon too.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like 70 years before the fall of the 12 colonies. So, it's like the equivalent of the 1920s or 1930s to us now. So it was quite a bit different.
Yeah.
Holy.
Okay, Ray, we interrupted you. You were about to say the plot.
I'm used to it. I'm used to it. It's like doing circle work. Anyway, synopsis. The show takes its name from the Firefly-class spaceship Serenity that the central characters call home. It resembles a Firefly in general arrangement of its tail section, analogous to a bioluminescent insectoid abdomen lighting up during acceleration. The ship was named after the Battle of Serenity, where Sergeant Malcolm Reynolds and Corporal Zoe Aline, I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, were among the survivors of the losing side. It is revealed in Bushwhack that the Battle of Serenity is widely considered to have sealed the Independent's fate. The Alliance is shown to govern the star system through the organization of core planets, following successful in forcibly unifying all the colonies under one government. DVD commentary suggests that the Alliance is composed of two primary core systems, one predominantly Western and the other one Pan-Asian, justifying the mixed linguistic and visual themes of the series. The central planets are firmly under Alliance control, but the outlying planets and moons resemble the American Old West under little governmental authority. Settlers and refugees on the outlying worlds have relative freedom from the central government, but lack amenities of the high-tech civilization that exists in the inner worlds. The outlying areas of space, the Black, are inhabited by Reavers, a cannibalistic group of nomadic humans. The captain of Serenity is Malcolm Mal Reynolds, played by Nathan Fillion. The episode Serenity establishes that the captain and his first mate Zoe Washburn, Nay Allen, Gina Torres, are veteran browncoats of the Unification War, a failed attempt of the outlying worlds to resist the Alliance. A latest episode, Out of Gas, reveals that Mal bought the spaceship Serenity to live beyond Alliance control. Much of the crew's work consists of cargo runs or smuggling. The main story is that River Tam, played by Summer Glau, and her brother Simon, played by Sean Maher. River is a child prodigy whose brain was subjected to Alliance scientists. That's not a proper sentence. That is not a proper sentence. Somebody needs to go in and edit this. Basically, her brain was messed with by a secret government institution. She displays symptoms of schizophrenia and often hears voices. It is later revealed that she is a reader, one who possesses telepathic abilities. Simon gave up his career as an
secret. Everybody knows about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The secret organization or whatever that did this is not so secret. Everybody knows about it.
This is true.
Yeah.
Secrets only work if you don't tell them to anybody. Simon gave up his career as an eminent trauma surgeon in an Alliance hospital to rescue her, and they are fugitives. In the original Serenity, Simon joins the crew as a paying passenger with River smuggled aboard the ship as cargo. As Whedon states in an episode of a DVD commentary, every show he does is about creating a family. By the last episode, Objects in Space, the fractured character of River has finally become whole, partly because the others decided to accept her into the family of the ship. And then I scroll. So episode 2, which was released in September 2002, is called The Train Job, directed by Joss Whedon, written by Joss Whedon and Tim Mainher. In the very, very short plot synopsis, crime lord Aditi Nishka hires a crew to rob a train of unspecified goods. The crew can transfer the goods to Serenity flying above, but Mal and Zoe Washburn are forced to stay behind on the train.
Russians.
They learn that they have stolen medicine desperately needed by the locals. The crew argues whether they should deliver the goods to Nishka. Unfortunately, they decide untimely. God, some of the writing on this page is crap. Ultimately, they decide to rescue Mal and Zoe first through subterfuge. Mal decides to return the medicine. However, Nishka's thugs track him down. After killing some of them and capturing the rest, Mal and Zoe take the medicine to those in need of it and refund Nishka's money. And this, of course, sets up the whole dynamic of Nishka's coming after them out of revenge for screwing him over. So it's one of those.
Who's pretty much looks like a space version of the bad guy in Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. But But yeah, basically, it's the equivalent of a train robbery in a Western movie, but in space.
It
Because if
is really.
you put space in front of something, it's always cooler. Hey, it's a Western. Hey, it's a space
Well,
Western.
well, not in an essay. If you put a space in an essay, your teacher might actually not give you a good grade. Then you got to put a lot of wordiness, actually.
Where
I'm
did
kind
that
of
come
glad
from?
that they picked this for the first episode because Ray, you could probably speak to this a lot more than I do. I am not so into westerns. Uh, I I'm a lot more into sci-fi, obviously. But I remember a staple of a western movie has always been a train robbery.
Yeah, sure.
Well, the whole thing about the Wild West was that everything happened around the railway lines. They were the main method of fast communication and movement. All of the telegraph lines ran along the railway lines because if there was a problem with the telegraph, you could get to it easily on the train. So basically, when the West was being settled, it all happened around the railway lines. So the railways were really important, and you'd have like important shipments coming along the trains, and they would be the focus of where if somebody wanted to rip something off, well, the train can't go anywhere but along the train track. So if you wait at some point along the train track, a train's going to come along eventually when it's got the stuff on it you want. So rather than trying to catch stagecoach carrying something, which can take one of many routes if they're concerned about being tracked down, train can't do that. So
It's on a schedule, so it's
yeah,
easier to
exactly.
plan.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, it is a staple of westerns. You don't always get it in a western, but it is one of those big things that was happening at the time.
I had a question because I was since I saw obviously it's been so many years and so many rewatches. I have watched. I actually own this digitally. Um, Over the years, I have heard there was one specific comment among many that may come up on this episode, where people were saying, "Okay, this is a space western. Um, there's a space train, and you can see that train is hovering over tracks." And I heard comments like, "What's up with the power lines and the poles?" And I'm like, how is that really? I mean, I'll explain how I understand it, but the reason why I'm bringing it up is because I find it curious that people are asking that question. Because I mean, number one, this is a border planet and is a colony moon, right? So you just explained trains are very important, especially I like to think on fresh colony. A colony moon it is just has just been colonized, so it's probably on its way to becoming something bigger than what it is. So akin to what we know as the Wild West, when people started flocking to the West looking for gold. Um, Trains, especially this kind of train, would look so awesome. Um, it reminds me of the Hyperloop somehow. Um,
It's a maglev train.
yeah, but
Sometimes you collect trains, right?
I used to be a huge train buff back in the day.
You like
Not so
Tom?
much now.
so what I was saying is, you have these routes that were built to try to help with, shipment across multiple towns in this planet, because you don't necessarily have, yeah, you have ships flying around, but things are harder for a colony. So doesn't it make sense that you would take advantage of these lines and include everything else like power supply to the cities?
No, I would take advantage of the lines to say that's what you say when it's harder for a colony.
Well, I would actually say that they're mistaken. Looking at the number of cables running across those poles, It's not. It's more likely to be telegraph or telephone than
Straight
power,
telegraphs.
because generally power over long distances, you use bigger cables and more voltage because the voltage drop across distance is significant. So
Yeah.
that's why they use big cables and big voltages across large distances, because otherwise it would just peter out. You just lose all the electrons and you get nothing at the other end. So the fact that there's multiple small cables rather than a couple of large cables, that is not power. That is telephony.
So I mean, you're basically proving my point. Regardless of what the reason is, what I'm trying to say is cables and poles are not out of place in this futuristic space western.
Well, I mean, there's all sorts of reasons that they might be using wires rather than just wireless communications. It could be that there's problems with the ionosphere. A lot of these are moons rather than full-on planets, so there could be problems with the ionosphere. There could be, solar radiation causing problems with radio communications or wireless communications. So having wires along the railway line, and like I said, if you run cables of any description, you want to be able to get to them, fix them if there's a problem. So you put them next to a transport network and then you can get to them easily. But running wires can often be advantageous for a lot of different environmental reasons and security reasons as well. So I can see that there may be a need for that. I can also think that in a future age, you wouldn't be using wires, you'd be using fiber optics, and you wouldn't necessarily run them above ground like that. You run them underground, like we do with fiber optic networks now. So I think more it's an aesthetic addition to the scene to make it feel more like an old Western railway line. I don't think they really thought very hard about the science involved with that. So,
well, I do have to admit, this show is just straight out fun, and it just makes you laugh.
Yeah.
I just that beginning scene when we see Mal Reynolds on the on the bar, whatever that may be, and very very reminiscent to those saloons from the West.
Definitely, that was the idea.
And he goes in, he's he's from the other side that lost the war, and he goes and basically picks up the fight with the winning side. And later we find out that this is what he does every year on Unification Day. We soon discover that he's a troublemaker.
Oh, for sure. I think. Well, I mentioned this in the pre-show. I said if he had a nameplate on his office door in the ship, it would say "Captain and Troublemaker."
I would say he's a Confederate sore loser.
Huh?
Right?
Oh, very very sore loser. Yeah.
Confederate sore loser, right?
Well, I don't know if his name has anything to do with it. I mean, we hear one of the scenes, how what's River was actually analyzing his name. His name is Mal. That means bad. Was it what was it that she said? Bad in Latin.
Mal is like bad in Spanish.
Is
Mal.
I was just going to say that it's the same thing in Spanish.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe there's something to his name.
Well, you say that like he commits crimes, but
well, he
still
did
has
say
he has a moral code.
he did say
So-
we are thieves, but we're not thieves. But what is the quote?
Isn't one of his catchphrases "We aim to misbehave"?
There you go. He is it's amazing. I love that character so much. I actually have. I wish I can show you, but I actually have here in the studio a and I can probably post it on Twitter so people can see. But I have a drawing of him with the Firefly behind him on the studio. Um, so it's yeah, it's one of my favorite. I got that in I think it was Tampa Comic Con. Um, one of the artists that he basically does this type of work. It's really cool. I'll post a picture for you guys on Twitter so you guys can
That is
see.
something. That is something that I have to admit I have never done. Is going to a Comic Con in my life.
Yeah,
Bucket list.
there you go.
I mean,
Put it on your bucket
Comic
list.
Con. It should have been something easy to access here, but for some reason, like never. Actually, yeah.
Oh, I found the quote. It's like we're not thieves. Well, we are thieves. Point is, we're not taking what's his.
Well, you might be considered, especially by the law, as a thief, but you can still have a moral code.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
very obvious in this episode when they go against a crime boss to
They're like, "He's
return what they
obligated to
stole
protect."
when they find out how important it is to the people who need it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I was wondering, what do you think was it his pride? Because I mean, he took the job, right? And Nishka actually asked him, like, "You taking the job? Aren't you going to ask what the job is about?" And you know, we see this where he rather not know. But do you think that would be a flaw? Because that opens him up to things that are outside his moral code.
Yeah,
And once he finds
that's
out,
that seems
he's
like
in
showing
trouble.
character of bad, being a
Hmm?
bad guy. Yeah, no, I'll do anything.
I mean, I
I think
understand where he's coming from, right? Because you know he's just there for a job. He wants to get it done.
I mean, think about it. If you actually stutter or like you flinch about asking what's the job for, what confidence are you giving to your buyer?
Hmm.
You know, it's like I would not contract you if you actually had a problem asking me like, "But what am I gonna do?" You know, like, no, this guy's not gonna do something bad for me. Hell no.
Yeah, I just found it kind of like, you know, in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, this could have been prevented, but then again, it could be a really short episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it could have been a short episode if they'd actually managed to get on board the cargo and been winched up into the ship. They never look at the stuff. They drop it off. They fly away. They never know what effect that had on the locals.
Exactly.
Their moral compass never gets shoved back in their faces. And it was a very short episode, and there was no problems for them. But of course, the entanglements make the story basically.
Yeah, definitely. I always wonder about that kind of stuff.
I mean, Morena
As I,
Bacari. I mean, come on.
huh?
I mean, Morena Bacari. Come on, guys. Like the first time that I watched the episode, it was hard to concentrate on what was happening every time she came in camera.
So you had to watch it over and over again to get the story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta
Over
get
and
past
over
that first.
to get the story. Mhm. Okay, that's what she said.
At least you got the story. I didn't get Morena Bacari.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I wonder if we get Morena in the show. I don't think Gio would be able to speak one word.
Oh, I
No.
will probably. Way too
You'll
many.
pr- you'll probably be like this.
No, I'll probably be talking way too many words.
We'll have to send him a monogrammed hanky to wipe the
I'll tell her.
drool off around his mouth.
No,
Drool, yeah.
I think it's one shot, but no pun intended from Firefly. But remind me to take you to the saloon.
Her character in this show was I think it was well done.
Oh yes, I loved it.
The the conflict of it, I don't even know how to begin. It was just
Very high
so
class prostitute in this
well,
case.
yeah, but she's it's kind of interesting how in this universe that career it's akin to be a dignitary or a what's the word that I'm looking for? Diplomat.
Man, I mean, you could call it that. It's not like she was not doing diplomatic business with important.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, she would meet with politicians and and people high standards and
Definitely not to discuss politics.
yeah.
Oh well, it's more like war, you know. And they say like love is like war. It works from the waist down differently.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to get at is, her profession was so high up that everywhere she goes, and we could see this when they went actually to when she was actually sent to the jail to pick up Mal and
Yeah,
and Zoe, and everybody in that prison, I mean in the police station, let's call it, was looking at her like she was like a president or someone like a high standard. Yet Mal has a complete different opinion
it's
on
like
her.
let's put it this way. It's like you have hoes, then you got US1 prostitutes, then you got Las Vegas prostitutes, and then you have geishas, and then you have the how do they call her?
Oh, oh crap. Yeah, but I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
And then you got her role, one of a role, like all the way over here. She's
Yeah,
like she's like that courtesan that the president has to make a line for her.
yeah. So
Yeah.
the contrast, like you have these people, and then you have Mal looking at her, and there's a teasing going back and forth. Obviously, very funny interaction between them two. But I kind of wonder if um if this is actually you guys let me know and what you guys think. You've probably seen it as much as I have. Um, this is part of him. Is it picking fun at him at her, or maybe they had something and he's trying to get something back? Uh, it seems very deliberate.
I, I will venture to think it is, and I mean I think that there's a chemistry between them two.
Okay.
I would
So,
think.
Well, there's a dynamic between them as the captain of the ship and somebody who's renting a shuttle. There's her profession, which can often cause friction if there's other feelings involved. And obviously, he's got a thing for her, and she
oh yeah.
quite likes him as well. So there's a
Mhm.
whole bunch of different levels that they're working on, and then they like to poke fun at each other as well.
Yeah,
So
and I mean
and that's actually a sign of their feelings for each other, that they poke fun at each other. So it's a bit on the tsundere side as well.
Yeah. 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 That I never really thought about it that way, but it makes a lot of sense. Um, I guess what is your favorite? Let's go ahead and ask this question. What is your favorite part of this episode? If you can pick, I mean, it's kind of hard because the
Oh,
whole this is amazing.
that's easy. It's near the
right.
end where they've managed to beat up the guys working for the kingpin. What's his name? Um,
Nishka.
Nishka. Yeah. So they've beaten him up, and Mal's trying to explain it to them. He's like, okay, so yeah, we returned the goods and we're returning the money. Here you go. Just tell Nishka that we're sorry that we couldn't take the stuff, and and you take the money back to him, and we're even. And the big enforcer guy goes, no, you keep money, and we come after you and kill you. He goes, oh well, kicks him really hard into the engine intake, and the guy goes, and then they drag the next guy over and go, okay, so this is the situation. The guy goes, yeah, oh, it's fine, I get it, we'll take money.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
We'll sort it out. It was beautiful.
He didn't want to replay that.
What?
He didn't want to replay that moment with himself. Like,
No.
Exactly.
It's kind of funny how they played it, because you could tell that Mal was going one by one. Here's the first one. Okay, let's pick the second one. What is your favorite scene, Gio?
damn, man. I mean,
I know it's hard. This whole episode is amazing.
I think I picked Morena's entry moment by actually the one that Ray picked up. Like, I think that what I love the most about it is how these moments are like so filled up with a lot of irony in the jokes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like, for example, when oh my god, I keep on calling him Casey, bro.
Jane.
It's something that your wife would do.
Jane? You're talking about Jane, right?
Yeah, when they were trying to like go and like leave him behind, and like they just put the fucking tranquilizer on him, and then when he comes back, he's like, "What? We're not going? I waited for you." And I'm like, "What?"
Oh my god.
Oh, there was the bit where Mal turns to Jane and goes, "Good shot." He says, "I was aiming for his head."
And you see later that he was like, "I waited for you." Like, he was not really banking on that. He was forced to stay, and now he's trying to take the credit for it.
Oh, for sure.
That's great.
I think one scene that really caught my attention was when Brooke was actually in the kitchen, and Inara came in, and he's asking, he's basically saying, I feel very useless. I want to be able to be useful. I mean, not in the thieving thing, but I feel useless. And Inara says, you could pray for him. And he's like, well,
yeah, that's true.
He he had many conversations before when he's, Ray just mentioned earlier that, if I'm, your, basically he doesn't want anything to do with God. He don't want to be the preaching and none of that. And she said, you can always pray for him. And then there's a long pause. She's pouring her tea and says, I always do. And that was just like, that was clever.
It was definitely clever. And I mean, I just want to tell you, it was ironic too.
I think one of the last questions here before we move on to the last, and
just before you go past that, I just wanted to say that it's very well written in that there's a whole bunch of hints with the way the words are put together about how Inara feels about Mal and vice versa, but they keep a distance because of her profession. Yeah. So he can't come to terms with that, even though he cares about her, and she has to keep business sort of sense going. So yeah, they can't really do what they want to do.
No, exactly. You tell me, because you like a lot of Japanese novels like this. That's what keeps it more fiery and spicy. It's like they can't.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's the frustrated love affair, which is like a staple for a lot of these sorts of things.
I don't think that's a relationship. That's just a build-up into people.
Yeah, that could be bad in the long run.
Yeah, no. I'm actually gonna call their dynamic blue balls.
Oh god. Okay, so the big question, I'm going to ask the hardest question.
Well, that's good as the blue balls.
So you want the lotto numbers, do you? The hardest question.
After blue balls.
Oh god, I'm going to go first. I'm going to ask the hardest question. You could pick what I pick. There's no wrong answer. Who is your favorite character? And I would have to say Jane for
I don't need
me.
to answer that.
I would have to say. I think I know what Geo's is,
I don't
but
need to.
I'm gonna let him say it. But I'm gonna go on record saying I think my favorite character is Jane.
Jane.
Yeah.
What
So
about you, Ray? Mine is obvious.
Well, yeah, I know. I know Anara is your favorite character. Don't have to ask.
And I mean, yeah,
So, but they're all really well written, individual, well-rounded characters. They've all got their little quirks, and that's what makes the dynamic of the show really good. There's a scene in the movie Serenity where they do this single take spinning around the dinner table in the galley,
mhm.
and they're all talking to each other, and it just works. It's just like, oh, this is so cool, and that shows the maturity of the character design and the writers room abilities to bring these characters out and have them interact and really work as a story. Um, but I would have to say that all of these characters have some really interesting traits that and ways of doing things that make them um, a lot of fun to listen to and makes it an enjoyable story. But if you
yeah.
force me to pick one, only one, which is hard, um,
Yes, yes.
I'm leaning towards Mal, but in the end, I'd have to take Wash. There's just something about Wash
So there's
at
what?
the beginning. At the beginning of the movie, where he does a sudden but inevitable betrayal line of the plastic dinosaurs and leaf in the wind, I have a leaf in the wind.
Yeah.
And you know that shameless plug, sudden but inevitable podcast
Mm,
has rewatch for Firefly. So if you guys
nice.
want a lot more content, you can go look it up, download it, and listen. Great, great show, and I have listened to every episode.
Surprised, not surprised. Going on the
Yeah,
name.
just because I think I like Firefly just a little bit,
Just a little
Just a
bit.
little.
just a little
Yeah.
bit.
A teeny tiny bit. Not big deal. We're not.
I was going to say, have you read the comic continuation?
No, I
If you want more content, go and read that. You can get it digitally, so you don't have to hunt it down in dead tree format.
I think it was
Just
Dark Horse, right? I think it
Yeah,
was
it
in Dark
was.
Horse. I have it in
Yeah,
Dark Horse, but I haven't really. I actually bought it, like many other books that I have bought, and I haven't started it yet. Shame on me. Shame on me. I know.
go and read it. It's great. I mean, I read it like 10 or 15 years ago. It was a long time ago that they ran them. But yeah, it's well worth the read, and then you get more content. Basically, they've taken the script for the second season and third season and
Not addiction, Robert.
made comics out of it.
Nice. So now for the big reveal, Gio, who's your favorite character?
I mean, come on. I have a crush on Marina McCarty. Why would I choose her? I have a space border for her in the show.
That's
See,
the
I
big
told you,
reveal.
put space in front of it, it makes it better.
Yeah,
Yeah, it makes it bigger.
the Space Morena.
That's what she said.
Oh man, really?
Uh,
I don't want space between me and her.
um, okay, so I think uh, we have come to the final part of this episode, um, where we're gonna go and talk about our final thoughts on this episode for Firefly. I could start first. Um, this show is amazing. I find hard to believe that the people out there that still have not watched this. But if you're one of those, give it a try. I it, it's
Right? Make yourself a favor. Do yourself a favor.
it's only 14 episodes, which to me is the bad thing about it, because me, like many others, do want more content for this show, and hence the dilemma about the reboot versus the remake. Um, but it's only 14 episodes. Um, give it a chance and reach out to us and let me know what you think. I know there's a lot of people I have encountered online that do not. This is not their show, and that's okay. I mean, and go ahead and reach out to us, and we can start a conversation. We could disagree and still be friends. But if you have not watched it,
I love
the
Feisty, by all means.
yeah, the worst thing that's going to happen is you don't like the show, right? But if it's something, um, if it's not that, you gain one new favorite, and that's the whole idea behind sci-fi. It's just finding new things that
What's
cover
there
the
not to
sci-fi
like? It has
genre.
Granada Bacari on it. It's just a space
uh,
war. I mean, come on, bro.
Gio, tell me your final thoughts.
My final thoughts? No, I mean, in all seriousness, I think that this show should come back. Honestly,
It
it
should.
has so much to offer. I mean, I would not compare it to Cowboy Bebop, even though the same ideas behind them.
Hmm.
Uh, Cowboy Bebop is different, and Firefly is its own thing. That's the
Hmm.
beauty of it. And I mean, it leaves you wishing for more. There's some kind of like unity between the whole crew and dynamic that even when you're watching the show, you feel like part of them. You know, it keeps you laughing. I mean, it
Oh
keeps you
yes.
like inside the whole plot of the whatever is going on in the episode. And I mean, who doesn't like shows that are 45 minutes episode? I mean, it's like just watching a movie.
If anything, just you can watch it as a comedy. Forget about all the other genres and just watch it as a comedy. It's fun. It's funny. It's amazing.
Honestly, that's what I love it. Like you don't have to love sci-fi for loving it to love this show. You don't have to love Western to love this show.
Exactly.
You just have to have some humor sense. And I mean, I know that there are very few people, at least I know, that don't have that. It will
Yeah.
make you laugh. I promise you. And then if you like Marina Bakari, that's a plus. Unfortunately, I'll tell to whoever's listening. No, it's not like she's in minor strips there or anything like that. Unfortunately, that will be left
Yeah.
to your spatial imagination.
And finally, Ray, what is your final thought on this episode?
Well, I've been listening to you guys, and my thoughts have been sort of spinning around, and I'm going, well, what can I add to this?
You got me
I I
now.
kind of feel like if you're not diametrically opposed to sci-fi um, or so, Western or rom-com, then this is a sort of a fusion. This show has a lot of different elements. Like
Yeah,
um, it's not a true Western, it's not a true sci-fi, it's not a true rom-com. It has elements of all of these things, and it's all tied together by the pithy conversational style that Whedon brings to these sorts of shows. And I
Mhm.
really find it, that all shows need a bit of tension to make them interesting, a bit of drama, but
Mhm.
it's light-hearted drama. You can watch this show and there's shootouts and there's punch-ups and there's people dying and all this sort of stuff. But it never feels really gut-wrenching. There's no great, sort of, oh my God, I can't watch this anymore kind of feelings to it. It's all very entertaining. It's written as true entertainment, not as like thought-provoking, hard-hitting drama.
Mhm.
And it's very comfortable. It's one of those things you can watch every week and look forward to. Well, you could when it was on, and it wasn't very long, but
yeah.
I look forward to it every week and sat down and enjoyed it. And yeah, it was just comfortable. It was really comfortable to watch. And I know, Robert, with the way you react to things, that comfort is important to you,
Yeah.
and especially as you grow older. Comfort is important to you. And this is a very comfortable show to watch. That sort of it's comfort entertainment. I feel so. A lot of people can enjoy it if they just sit back and relax. It's one of those things.
Yeah, yeah. You can't really think hard on this show. It's just meant to be fun.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
fun and games. Um, okay, so um, I hope you guys will enjoy or are enjoying this episode. This is an extra episode we decided to throw in your feed. I hope it was a nice surprise. But we felt it was necessary to celebrate the 20th anniversary of this beloved show.
It merits it.
Um, and sorry,
It merits it.
yes,
It's a great
yes.
show.
So as always, I welcome you guys to chime in. You could tweet at us on Twitter and let's discuss this. You could actually join our Discord and talk to us about this and any other episode. And you can always call us at our hotline at 1-305-563-6334 and leave a voicemail and let us know, if you like this episode, if you have any comments about this episode or any other episodes in the past. Um, I really, really hope that you enjoy this uh, and that it was a nice surprise because we always release on Saturday at 7 a.m. Eastern. So I kind of like to hope that you guys find this kind of like a Christmas gift, a nice surprise.
And I like to say for closing, this is a long shot more than avocado. But if you're listening to, yeah, I'm gonna ask you out. So you'll be ready for it. If I have to fight to
Uh,
Hollywood or to whatever.
I've got one thing to add,
Mhm.
Uh,
and that is that this is probably the shortest episode ever. So
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, under an hour. So
short and sweet.
enjoy it.
Yep.
Nice.
So all those people who complain about our show being too long because they haven't worked out where the pause play button is yet, there you
Yep.
go, a nice short one.
They're gonna get an achievement like if they play Microsoft or PlayStation, like new achievement. You did a full
No,
episode.
exactly. We got the achievement badge under an hour, and don't say we didn't ever try to make it short, just for you. So there you go.
We try to make
No,
it
but nothing but love. Nothing
good,
for love.
right?
I'm sorry?
Quickies are good sometimes.
Yeah. Nothing but love. We love you, and I hope you enjoyed this episode as well as any other one in the future. Thank you, and see you next time.
Bye bye.
Dun, 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 dun,